Hey bookish friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing my July wrap up. So in July I read 10 books, which I think is phenomenal, and I'm so excited about that. And I DNF'd 2 of them. One of the DNFs, I got pretty far into it. So I will be talking about my DNFs first, and then I will share the rest of them in the order that I read them. So the first DNF that I had was Carly Fortune's what is it called? This Summer Will Be Different. I think I got like 10% into this. I don't even know. It might have been less than that. I didn't get very far. That's all I know. But it was just, there was just too much like sexual content in it that I just didn't want to read about. I did read Every Summer After by her and I loved it. So I was hoping that I was going to like this one, but I DNF'd it because I just don't want to read about that kind of stuff. The next one that I DNF'd, you guys, I got 71% into this book, okay? And it was so good up until I got to the part where the big reveal happens. I'm sure there was more to reveal, but the part that got revealed, I was just like, nope, I'm not for this. I don't like it. And if you saw my reading blog, you would have seen that. So this one is Riley Sager's House Across the Lake. You guys, like I said, this book started off so good. I was really enjoying this. This was my first Riley Sager book and it was good, like I said, up until that part. I did not like it. I thought it was dumb. And I was just like, no, this is not for me. I don't like this. I don't really want to spoil anything. All I'm going to say is this book is about a lady who is spying on her neighbors across the lake with like these high-powered binoculars. And it's a thriller, so you can only imagine what happens, and it does get crazy. My thing is I always like to go into books blind. So that's as much as I'm gonna say. I DNF'd it because when they revealed something, I just did not like that, and it's very unbelievable for me. So I'm like, nope, I don't like it. But I will probably try another book because up until this point, I was so captivated in this book and I was loving it. So when this reveal happened, I was so bummed. I was like, no, why did you have to do this? You could have went all these different ways. I had all these different ideas of what was going to happen and none of them happened like I thought at all. So there's that. I DNF'd that one. Okay, so enough with the DNFs. The first book that I read in July was Book 2 in, I'm not sure what this series is called, but the first book is called Defy the Night, which I shared in my last wrap up. And then this second book is called Defend the Dawn. Now, for content warning, if you are a Christian, because I am a Christian and I want to share like Christian content on here, and I know, and I have convictions about things that I want to read in my books. And I do know everybody's different. I do want to make a disclaimer that this is a YA fantasy, but you know, I looked up the age range of what YA is supposed to be, and it says 12 to 18. My son is 14 years old, and I would not let him read or listen to this book because of the content that was in it. And I just feel like I personally don't want my kids reading a lot of romance books until they're older and they're more mature. This was, I'm pretty sure, a closed door. It was like closed door. I don't even think there was anything happening in this book. But the third book, this is the disclaimer that I'm going to make. In the third book, there is a same-sex couple going on in there, and there is some descriptive writing in it. So if you are a Christian or you just don't like reading about that kind of stuff, there's a disclaimer for you. So back to the book now. I gave this book, and listen, I didn't even know about this going into this series. Otherwise, I might not have read it. But for me, it was easy to skip over in the third book. But I hated that it was there. I really did. I didn't like it. But the second book didn't have any, it kind of like almost hinted a little bit, and I thought, is this gonna go somewhere? But then it didn't, so I just thought, okay, sometimes they just hint things like that, and then that's all they do. But it comes out in the third book. But this second book, I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it so much. It was very adventurous, fun. I loved it. The series is about you have 2 point of views here. You have Tessa, you follow Tessa, who is a girl who she lost her parents and there's a sickness going on, and there's this special moonflower that her and her friend Wes are trying to take around to help heal the people in the lower colonies. They're like common people. Because this is set in like where there's like a kingdom and a prince and a king and all of that kind of stuff and different sectors. This does have a lot of politics, I would say, in it, but the romance is probably slow burn, but I love it. Oh my gosh, I love the chemistry between Tessa and the love interest, which I'm not going to say who it is, but because you will find that out in the first book. But I absolutely love it. So the second POV is from Korik, and he's the king's brother. So he's the prince, the king's brother. Their parents die, and they have to step up into these roles when they're young. And then Korik ends up becoming the king's justice. So he has to like uphold the law, and he kills people, and he doesn't like it. So he's just seen as this heartless man. But I love that you get his POV, because you come to realize he's really not like that, and you understand why he does the things he does. So I love this so much. I feel like it's very adventurous. It's so fun. This is the second book in the series, so I don't really want to say much more, but I really enjoyed it. Would I recommend it for Christians? If you do not want to read about what I said, then no. Like I said, if I knew this going in, I probably wouldn't have read it, but I'm almost kind of glad I did, because I loved this book so much. This one in particularly was my favorite, and the first one was really good too. I think the first one I gave 4 stars. Moving on, the next book that I read was Reckless, and going from Defend the Dawn to Reckless, they're both very much like fantasy, and kept like getting them mixed up in my head because I just got done with that and went right into Reckless. And they're, in a way, they're similar, but not. They're similar because you have 2 POVs in both stories, and then they're also around like 2 brothers who are like king, or who are princes, and like the king's justice or an enforcer, which is in Reckless, that's what he's called, the enforcer. Anyway, so I was getting a little confused about them both, but not, I don't know. But anyway, so Reckless, so I put on my reading little journal here, I put down 4.75 stars, but I don't know, I might do 4.5 stars. This book is the second book in the Powerless series, and I liked it. The ending was like, what the heck? Powerless is dual POV. So you're following Peyton and you're following Kai, and they're like rivals, but they're like lovers too. So it's enemies to lovers, and it's really good. I love it. It's a romantasy pretty much, and I absolutely loved it. I did love Powerless way more than I liked Reckless. So that's why I'm like, I think I might give it a 4.5. I do plan on doing a reread of the series, and I don't even reread series or books usually. Once I'm done with a book and I enjoy it, I usually just want to pick up new books because I just want to read new books that I haven't read. But this series, I'm definitely reading Powerless and Reckless before the next one comes out, so that I'm caught up in the series and I know what's going on again. The next book that I listened to, I put 4 stars, but I might do like 3.5, 4 stars. So like 3.5, 4 stars. I don't really know where I land right now, but this is the 3rd book in the Defy the Night series. And this one's called Destroy the Day. And like I said, this one has that aspect in the book. And this one is actually told in 3 POVs. So you're going to have Tessa, then you're going to have Korik, and then you're going to have Harrison, who is the king. It just wraps up the rest of the trilogy in this book. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. The next book that I listened to is in A Seaside Cafe mystery series. This is a cozy mystery. You guys, I loved this. I gave it 4.5, but I might bump it up to 5 because I loved it. It was so good. I don't know if I just like downed some of these ratings because I had just come off of like Reckless and Defend the Dawn, and I loved those so much that I couldn't see giving this a 5-star, but it is a different genre. So I think I might even, I was thinking about this the other day. I think I might even rate different genres differently because they are different from each other. You know what I mean? But this one was so fun. It was cozy and I loved the mystery. I can't remember if I figured out the plot, but I loved it. This one is about Everly, who ends up returning home after breaking up with her boyfriend, and she opens a tea shop. And then a murder takes place, and she is actually being investigated because the guy who was murdered drank some of her tea. So she's kind of being investigated, but then of course she's over here also trying to figure out who murdered the person. So I don't know, it was cute and cozy and I loved it. And then the next book I listened to was No Good Tea Goes Unpunished, and this is the second book in that series, and I gave it 4 stars. I don't really want to say much about it, but again, you're following Everly and the detective and a whole nother mystery, trying to figure out what happened, who did it, and all that. And it's just a fun time. I love it. I love the tea aspect in this. You know, I think it was 2 years ago, I read a coffee house mystery, and I loved it so much because of all the coffee talk. Oh my gosh, I just love cozy mysteries so much. They're so fun and entertaining, and just, they're like a really good palate cleanser, I feel like, too, because they're just so cute and cozy, and I feel like it doesn't take a lot of brain power like a fantasy would. The next book that I listened to was Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is the second book in the Natural series. And this one is following a copycat killer. And that's all I'm going to say. I would just go into this blind. This series, if you don't know anything about the series, it's kind of like a Criminal Minds, but with like teenagers. So it's like these teenagers that have special abilities who are trying to help solve crimes, but they're really trying to crack open cold cases. They go through cold cases and try to figure out what happened in the cold case. So the next book that I listened to was The Silent Patient, and I gave this 4 stars. This is a psychological thriller. Like, I mean, it is a little cuckoo. The ending, I kind of saw coming. I'm very good, I feel like, at figuring out who done it because of all the crime shows and stuff that I've watched when I was younger. So I'm very good at plot twists, and I did guess this plot twist, but I still liked it. So this one is about a woman who is found with her husband shot in the face, and she's in the house with the gun, and she never speaks after that. So her husband's murdered. She's found at the house in the crime scene. She doesn't talk, not even during the trial or anything. She doesn't say anything for a long, long time. She becomes a patient in like a mental institution. So you're pretty much following this guy who becomes a doctor there, and he's trying to get her to talk and find out what happened. So you're following that. It's pretty cool too, though, because you get some of her perspective through diary entries. So that's pretty cool. You get to read these diary entries up until the murder. So there's that. And yeah, I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. Oh, so here are some content warnings for that. I did write content warnings on some of these things. So for content warnings, I wrote, there is low-key open door scenes. There is minimal cursing. They do say the Lord's name in vain, and then there's talk of sex. So those are the things that would be warnings to go into. So the next book that I listened to is called Fable, and I gave this 4 stars. Content warning is there are 2 guys who show affection towards each other, so there's that. But I feel like it was pretty mild, what I can remember. I don't know why I can't remember things like vividly. Some books I can remember very vividly if I love them very much, but I don't remember if I told you I gave this 4 stars. So this is a fantasy about Fable. Her whole life up until I think she was 12, she was living on a boat with her mom and dad on sea, and her dad was a trader. And then one day when she's, I think, 12 years old, her dad leaves her on this island and just leaves her there to fend for herself. So in this book, you're following Fable trying to get off the island and go find her father, and she just wants her father to love her pretty much. So you're following that whole journey. There is a little bit of a romance. I wish there was more romance. I really love romance. I think I just love romantasy a lot. So this was like low-key, slow burn romance. Then the next book I listened to was Namesake, and I gave this 4 stars. So the content warning in this is there is sexual content in this. I don't think it's not very descriptive, but it does happen, and it's like kind of like a fade to black scene, I would say. So anyway, this one is, again, you're following Fable again, and it's just continuing the journey, and it's a duology. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. And then the last book that I read this month, oh my gosh, you guys, I loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I might even up it to like 4.5 stars because this book was so cute. It is The Match by Sarah Adams, and I just love this. It was a cute, fluffy little romance. So in this book, you're following Eve, and when she was younger, she was diagnosed with epilepsy, and she has seizures every now and then, like really bad ones. So she ends up getting a service dog, and the lady who introduced her to her service dog or matched her with it runs a program where she matches people with dogs. Eve ends up working with her and matching people with a dog. She gets this email from this guy, and he's like, oh, my daughter has epilepsy and we're looking to find her, to match her with a dog. We were hoping you could help. So she meets them at this coffee shop. She goes up to the guy and she's like, oh, you must be Jacob. And he's thinking, and this is duo POV, which I love. I love that in a romance. It's my absolute favorite because I love to be in the heads of both people. So she goes up to him and she's like, hi, I'm Eve, and you must be Jacob. And in his head, he's thinking, who the heck is this lady and why is she talking to me? Like, I don't know who you are. How do you even know me? He's kind of like rude to her a little bit. And then it comes out, obviously, that his daughter is the one that wrote the email. So he's like annoyed, and he's like, we do not want a service dog. And you're just following even Jacob and their relationship, and it's cute. I love it. I love all the epilepsy talk. I love the relationship between Eve and his daughter because he is divorced, and her mother is not in the picture, or she comes like in and out of the picture and stuff like that. So I really loved this book. Those are all the books that I read in July. I'm so happy. I read some really good books, and yeah, I'm very glad that I ended the month with a bang and a really good book. Hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. All right, guys, have a blessed day.